So we've all been paying attention to the news in some capacity. We all understand what's going on with Afghanistan. I'm not really here to give opinions on whether it's a good thing we left Afghanistan or not. I'm really here today in this clip to share with you some information that's happening about the refugee crisis that has now unfolded since we've left Afghanistan. Now, yesterday was August 31st. That was the deadline to get U.S. troops out of Afghanistan. As you probably heard or probably know, we didn't get all of our assets out of Afghanistan, meaning our interpreters, the people that worked with us, the contractors, all that stuff. But we did get the U.S. troops out. So this was an interesting article from Unwoke Narrative. They're a really reliable source of news that I've been kind of liking more and more and more. So I think that it's important for us to touch on this. So here it says, is vetting happening? The Afghan refugee crisis. We're not really vetting them before bringing them here. We can't do it this fast, says Ken. I think you say his last name is Cusinelli, a former, we're going to just call him Ken, a former Homeland Security expert says. Former top officials say, no, we are not vetting them. Ken said, we're not really vetting them before bringing here. We can't do it this fast. Vetting process usually takes 18 to 24 months, and it has 14 steps. Meanwhile, 10,000 Afghan refugees are being moved in a 24-hour period. Huge shortcuts are being taken. Now, of course, there is a risk of terrorism here, and that's why I think it's important for us to discuss this. Biometric checks are still happening for the refugees. They rely on DNA and retinal scanning, eye scanning. A small percentage, less than 0.5%, of Afghan refugees were flagged for potential terrorism ties. So you'd think that's good. But the problem with this form of vetting is that it's limited to our available information. Essentially, we can only flag people who have been screened before or who have been flagged for doing something bad before, or their cousin did something and now that's why they're connected. So it's not a 100% guarantee that we're vetting them properly. Again, we're skipping that whole 14-step process. With the massive influx of Afghan refugees into the country at a record speed, unscreened refugees are entering, making biometrics useless. The quote says, with large numbers of people coming from Afghanistan, where we know there is a significant Al-Qaeda and ISIS-K presence, it's highly likely that in some cases, these really sophisticated terrorists may attempt to enter the country as infiltrators. That's what the Pentagon said yesterday. So how bad is this? Advocates are currently demanding the admission of 50,000 unvetted special immigrant visa applicants and 200,000 Afghan residents into the country. SIV, which is that special immigration visa, these immigrants are being allowed in, and those without the SIVs are paroled into the U.S. immigration parole, gives visa-less foreigners entry for humanitarian reasons. As of now, the U.S. helped more than 114,000 people evacuate. 65 Democrats from the House are calling on Biden to increase the annual refugee cap to more than 200,000. Representative Tom Tiffany, he's a Republican from Wisconsin, told the Washington Times that the 2,000 Afghans housed at the base in his state, not one had the special immigration visa for Afghans employed by or behalf of the United States government. So he's saying there's 2,000 Afghanistan refugees in Wisconsin right now on a base, a military base, being screened and then being released, and these people don't have that special visa. Now, here at the bottom it says there's no going back. With the current vetting, fraud and safety concerns may rise after allowing the refugees into the country. Because of current U.S. laws, there's nothing we'll be able to do about it. We can't deport them back to Afghanistan, he said. The conclusion is we're just going to have to resettle them in the U.S. regardless of the results of the vetting. This is an executive director of the Center for Immigration Studies. Ultimately, every Afghan allowed onto a C-17 plane to the United States will now be a permanent resident of the United States. And just so you understand, there are no background checks happening for a lot of these people. So why I wanted to share this with you guys is just so you understand what's going on. I think we're, in a lot of ways, this is being more than just the world police. This is the U.S. being the world's granddaddy, taking care of everybody, making sure you're okay. And I'm not trying to be cold towards those people that need help, but I am saying to rush and pull all these people in and not have a better plan to take in refugees just shows poor planning and, listen, you guys know I'm not a big Biden fan, but it's just lack of leadership. You have to blame Biden because when everything hit the fan with Trump, we blamed Trump. He was the leader. Biden is the leader right now. So the fact that we not only pulled our troops out first before worrying about the civilians that needed our help more, Not only did we do that wrong, we also don't have a plan here to deal with all the refugees for the people that would rather jump on an airplane and die falling to their death than stay in Afghanistan. So without a proper plan, this is what will happen. And to live in a world in your mind that says of the 140,000 immigrants that we're going to take in, probably more than that, to think that 1 or 2 or 10 of them are not potentially, if not already radicalized against the United States, I think is just ignorant to statistics, because we know how many people in the Taliban and how many people in ISIS-K live in Afghanistan, and we know they're not stupid. We know that it's easy for them to take advantage of situations like this, and now as we are 10 days away from the 20th anniversary of 9/11, it's just a very interesting scenario of events that we are coming to head here. You know what I'm saying? You got the 9/11 anniversary, this thing happened in Afghanistan, it's just very unsettling. Something smells. Something definitely smells. And then you see the videos of them flying our helicopters and doing that stuff with our military equipment. Why didn't we just blow it all up? If we knew we were leaving, why didn't we just blow it up? To say it's rendered useless, but it still has its rotors on the helicopter, it's still got its computer in there. It's just a lie. It's just a PR lie. And this whole thing is just a big PR mishap. From the planning to the delivery, the execution, every step of the way, I think it was handled very poorly. Ryan said, Taliban and Al-Qaeda have been laying in wait for this moment. You're not wrong, bro. I mean, again, I'm a moron. I'm just a day trader. I dropped out of college. I don't know anything. But just doing a little bit of research, it seems like this could have been known. The government, the United States government knows that when we leave Afghanistan, the Taliban is going to take over, and that's going to allow for more terrorism to be brewing. As that terrorism is brewing, now that we're leaving people stranded in Afghanistan that really need our help and that also hate terrorism, those people aren't going to become the biggest fans of America. We've now made it easier for those people to be radicalized. While they hate America now because America left them hanging, they hated terrorism, but at least the terrorism is a way out from being poor and not having clean water and blah, 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 blah. So it's like we made a bunch of enemies doing this. And I think that that isn't the goal of being the world police, you know? So I question why we did it this way. I question so many pieces of this, and I just hope that nothing bad happens. But there's a lot of high-level government officials that say the statistical likelihood, the probabilities, back to what I read at the beginning of the stream, the probabilities of a terrorist attack in the next few months have now dramatically increased. Not just because we brought them here, but just because, like I said, we've made more enemies there. Just stay safe, everybody. That's really why I'm sharing this information with you. I'm not trying to make you feel a certain way about Biden or whatever. That doesn't matter to me. What matters is that you stay aware and you stay safe. All right, GCAD way up. EU up to ADR. And there's GN reaching the 200 EMA.